You guys, you take and you take and you take.
Well, you provide us with endless free entertainment, so obviously.
I believe people pay for that, their cable packages and whatnot. Unless you are maybe not a nice person and stealing off the internet.
Well, nobody has watched this show on the internet before, right? No. Exactly. So everybody, welcome to the DHX crew panel. We're going to be here talking about how the show is made, the whole production process. And I'm Andy, and I'm going to be moderating this because Full Papers is apparently tired or something.
He doesn't like us.
He doesn't like these guys. Mitch isn't here, so
we don't like him.
It's not as cool. Oh. But I will try and fake a British accent for you anyway. And hopefully you will enjoy it. Exactly. Enjoy the free internet. Right. So I know that you guys are probably tired of having to do this over and over again, but I'm going to make them introduce themselves and just give a little description of what you do on the show. Yeah.
I am Jayson Thiessen. I am the supervising director of My Little Pony, and I make all the Oompa Loompas dance.
James Wootton, director, My Little Pony, season 1, 2, 3. And I eat the Oompa Loompas.
I'm Sabrina Alberghetti, and I'm a senior board artist for My Little Pony season 1 to now.
What do you do to the Oompa Loompas?
Yeah, what do you do with the Oompa Loompas?
I guess I'm an Oompa Loompa.
I'm Big Jim Miller. I was a board artist in season 1, storyboard supervisor for 2, 3 and the DVD, and now co-director of the upcoming season 4. And I am the Willy Wonka who says, "You get nothing!"
He takes that very seriously. We had to cut his desk in half.
So, since we're here to talk about the actual production side of the show, could you, anybody who wants to jump in on this, what's the very first thing you have to do when making an episode? What's the beginning first step?
You have to wake up.
Okay. What time?
I get up at 6:45.
Liar!
I have a dog. No, my alarm goes off at 6:45. I get out of bed at 7:45. Go ahead, Jason.
Bible.
Well, yeah, it always starts from a concept. Obviously, Hasbro had the ponies, and they wanted to reboot it, and we all know the story there, where they brought in Lauren, and she came up with all these great characters, and the world, and the storylines, and then from there, we begin the monumental task of building the system and the structure of how we're going to actually produce this thing for TV. And yeah, so we did a little, Wootie and I joined up to do a little test, because there was some debate at first from Hasbro as to whether or not they should do the show in 3D or in Flash. Lauren was pushing for Flash.
At the time, there were many Flash doubters out there.
Yes. It was, but 3D is very shiny, and they want to, that's a very attractive style for a lot of reasons, but Lauren really liked the graphic style. That's her style, and she wanted to keep it that way, and Flash is a good method of doing that, but it was just like, well, we want a lot of full animation. We want it to feel like the hair is a big deal. That was at the time, we were all about, we got to make the hair full and animate well and everything, and that's all we were really worried about.
As long as the hair is good, then the rest of the show will follow.
That was the big test. Like, can you make it feel real and not just look like stickers sliding around? So that was what we came in, and Wootie built an amazing build. And we were up till all hours of the night for weeks.
Our studio had a reputation for always kind of pushing the limits of what Flash could do to simulate traditional animation, the traditional cartoony classical.
In large part due to you two guys.
Yeah. There were more people involved with that, but
Pushing the envelope.
But yeah, it was a bit. It wasn't so tough because looking at the designs was like, oh yeah, that'll translate well. But then where do we go from there? How do we make it even better? So I mean, we took. How much time do you spend like just working out how to build the legs and building the internal comps? And
we did the proof of concept builds and everything. Those were kind of like really quick. We had like a week and then a weekend to do it. Whoopsie.
Put it to your face.
To the face. And so once we got the proof of concept okayed, which is the next part in the step, then it comes back to us where we refine the designs and the builds, and everything kind of gets elevated in quality. So we had the time to mess around. Took the time. Yeah, we
didn't
fought
have the
for
time. We took the time.
Yeah. And it paid off. Like they took a chance on us and gave us the time, and we said, "Don't worry, this will make the production run a lot smoother later on. So we'll be earning that time back if we spend it now."
Yeah. So like there was plenty of put into how is the mouth shapes gonna work and how we're gonna make it rotatable so that we can get some full acting, and just a little like a head wobble or something during acting, like that takes a lot of pre-production thinking to allow for animators to have that easily.
And the fact that all the characters had the same body, I mean, that's a dream
that was super
for
smart.
us, right? But we took the extra steps on making all the hair pieces swappable, and we had this recoloring system sorted out, so that things like this, more systematic kind of things, really paid off later and made it a lot smoother.
Wootie took a lot of time and built actual like plugins for Flash.
He Wootonized it.
Yeah, that's what we call it. And built like special timing charts that you can some typical timing between keys where you click a button and it's like a custom curve.
Yeah, motion
curves and like even like swappable colors, like a quick way to like, oh, here's a piece of animation I want to reuse for another character. Oh, I can swap out the colors and lickety split, and then boom, you got another piece of animation for someone else. And then the hair, like we wanted like the tails to feel smooth and have a lot of range of motion. So we brought symbols out of Flash into Illustrator and then turned them into brushes, and we're animating them in Illustrator and bringing them back into Flash.
So you can just simply draw one stroke, just one shape, and a couple clicks, you've got that simple line replaced with a detail, rainbows.
Wootie figured out a way to do that all in like 2 or 3 clicks out of Flash. Like, oh, draw this, do this, goes to Illustrator, bring it back in, and done. You're animating your scene. It was just, that was so smart. It helped a lot. I don't know how much they use that in their everyday, but like just for setting up like the stock animation, that was huge, because once you get like stock movements and stuff, you can take it from there and then build on it.
Which is like the next step in production, is like building up your assets and your pre-production and stuff, right?
Yeah. So we created walk cycles, run cycles, gallop, trot, flying from all angles, like front views, 3/4, side, back. It was huge. We had to do that for every character.
Normally shows do get this step, and it's really important, but a lot of times it doesn't get all the time it should get, so it'll be only like a couple of the main characters.
You get some janky stuff.
Yeah, and then
one angle, no reverse, and animators just have to make up that stuff on the fly if they get a scene that's backwards.
And the worst is like where it's like a really beautiful walk cycle that suddenly turns a corner and then it becomes like some different timing. I'm like, oh, that looks different. It should be the same. So you got to make sure all your angles are covered. So we spent a lot of time on that, just getting ready while the scripts were being written, while the storyboards were being drawn and designs were being done. They were in the very beginning. We were still doing this kind of stuff, all the way up until we started laying out and animating. So it took a while.
Well, let's talk about when storyboarding came in.
Yeah, well, here comes the storyboard artists.
It's kind of nice that you guys took the time to do that, because that makes our job as board artists easier. We're less restricted, because I've worked on a few other Flash shows and they've always there's times where they tell us to kind of avoid certain angles, because they don't translate very well in Flash, because there aren't as many builds, or the builds aren't worked out to the extent that I guess the pony ones were, which is really nice as a story artist, because you're not confined to sticking to certain shots, because it's going to be tricky to do it in animation. They let us board as we would always board with no restriction, and they always said, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out later. If it's not built, we'll do it for a scene, and we'll push the animators." So that definitely helped. The extra time put in at the beginning.
The boarding got a lot more ambitious,
As evident as the seasons progressed.
Yeah, like I did stuff. Like I remember. Dragon Shy was the first episode I ever worked on, and I had to do the avalanche scene. And I do remember at that time, because it was still so new, that there were some shots that were cut out because they were just too time-consuming or too difficult to do in Flash.
By the way, Dragon Shy avalanche scene.
Oh.
For sure.
But that was like one of the first, big types of action things that we had
set
done
pieces.
in season 1. So
we were all feeling out the limits of the show and what we can and can't do.
yeah. So that board, for example, was pretty simple through the entirety of it, but we were allowed to save the really cool stuff for an action sequence. So we would kind of simplify, just the talking sequences, so we could save time for the animators to take more time to do these really cool sequences later.
Picking our
choose.
moments, picking our moments to really blow it out. And there may also be reasons to limit angles for storytelling reasons, but we didn't want to limit the angles if we really liked one. We didn't want to be stuck with, we have to keep it at front 3/4 the whole time. Because the stories that were being written really called for epic shots and full animation. Just felt like that's the right thing to do. It's very kind of full Disney-esque sort of style. So we just really wanted to make that feel. It comes through really well sometimes. Sometimes it's a little tricky, but we work on it as much as we can through the animation stages and the rough cuts. And we have a revision crew that will revise animation as we, need it to try and finesse it and polish it and go through many stages of polishing and polishing and polishing.
You guys must be familiar with the term reuse, right? You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So being really organized with your assets, like anytime someone does that extra challenging scene, we always bank it and tag it with a bunch of descriptions on how it might be referenced later. Mm-hmm. And that goes into, we have this database that was made up by some good IT guys, and that's always, a lifesaver and a time saver on any production is how well you organize your reuse.
Yeah, it's great to have water splash, just searching it in a database and there's 20 water splashes. Well, we can combine them, recolor them, and make it a huge water splash.
But if it's reused well, you kind of won't notice it. How often do you guys notice reuse when you're watching it? It's I've seen that cycle before in a different episode.
You still don't have the freckles on Applejack when she's right.
No.
That's how fast she's running. They disappear.
Exactly.
So it really seems like the majority of season 1 was sort of laying down the foundation for how you were going to proceed with the future series. Because season 1 is gorgeous and beautiful, and I love the way it looks, but there's definitely a huge jump up in season 2 in overall production quality. Would you say that was because of the groundwork that you laid?
Oh, definitely. You work out a lot of kinks in the first half of the first season. Every show, the first few episodes are just tough because you're creating a whole world from scratch. You have nothing to fall upon. And so every time there's a new thing, that someone throws in a joke in the storyboard, and we didn't have it in the script, and there was a prop involved, well, now we're going to need someone to design that prop on the fly. And there's a lot of organization in it. But we don't have those things in any kind of library. But by season 2, you've got animation, you've got backgrounds, you've got location designs, you've got even special effects and After Effects scenes that you've done before that you can repurpose and just go, oh, we need another bunch of dust clouds for this explosion, so let's just throw those in and put them in ways that will seem new and work. And so it really helps make it fuller. We can add little clouds of dust here and there where we didn't have before, or extra sparkles.
Yeah, anytime we saw an artist dying on his desk trying to get this amazing looking little thing done, we would reassure him all the time, don't worry, we're going to reuse the heck out of it,
And that was a decision we had to make too. It's like, is this worth doing? Well, we can actually use that later. This could be something that could have legacy and we could use it again. So yeah, it's worth doing because it'll help us in the future too.
Yep.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
That's fantastic. So would you say that in some ways working with Flash assets, although it's limiting in a way, it's maybe a bit more freeing than working in regular traditional animation?
For sure,
You don't have to spend all that time working on the effects.
Because you can create a forest out of a few trees just by copy and paste and putting them back into the distance and placing them and it's like, whoa, there now you have a full forest with depth.
Distance tinting, that's a good
tip. Tinting. We would have a system because a lot of times Ponyville was designed on its own and without the characters in it, so they're very colorful and it's very awesome to look at when you're looking at the background. But if you have a scene where the important thing is the character or this little thing that you have two characters looking at, and right behind it is like pink and blue and orange and green and like
all the details
right.
lost.
And it's like, oh, we can't see the thing they're looking at. So it's a real challenge for the layout team. They have to think about okay, we got to sort of take a house that's behind the character and choose a color, like say the sky color, and then just sort of tint that a little bit, maybe 10%, maybe 20, depending on how far away it's drawn, and that really helps give it what I think is like atmosphere. Like there's layers of air into the distance, and the characters pop out a lot more, and it gives it more depth. And it's a simple way to make it look so much nicer.
And then oftentimes we would also totally turn this book into just solid blue silhouette color and put it in the background.
Yeah. Or even a house, there'd just be silhouettes of houses along in the distance, and it makes it feel like the world is bigger beyond just that one little area.
Gives it that graphic look.
Yeah, and it doesn't interfere with the characters talking, because we don't want you to see the background, we want you to feel the background in the place that they're in.
If they're not noticing it, then you've done your job.
Yeah.
And people still notice it.
Oh yeah, especially
when there's
crowd.
mistakes.
That guy.
There's always mistakes, but that's fun to find.
It's a derpy. It's funny. You said two words that caught me, where you said copy and paste. And speaking as a musician, and I know a lot of electronic musicians sort of catch flack because they're like, oh, all you have to do is copy and paste and do this and push a button, and there are shortcuts, but there is no shortcut to artistry.
There's no cheating. It's not like someone's grading it.
Exactly.
No one comes over and goes, oh, did you do that a different way? No. We work on a timeline. Anything that you can use to make it go faster or more productive or more efficient, you have to take those shortcuts. Yeah. Otherwise, the quality just goes...
Well, and it's all for entertainment value. If it doesn't hurt the entertainment value, then you win. If it's helping us in ways that can enhance the story in other ways, does it matter if you reuse the tree 3 times? But
what if it's the same tree all 3 times? That's okay.
Because it's not the focus of the shot. It's just the background. Exactly. So get off my back.
Yeah, guys. Oh, you were talking specifically to me. I'm sorry. It's funny, you mentioned earlier on there was the debate as to whether this would be Flash or 3D. Personally, I'm very glad that it's in Flash and not 3D, but I was wondering, maybe I could get all of your opinions on 3D animation. Like, have you worked in it, or do you have strong opinions about it one way or the other?
Seems like it's a challenge to really get a cartoony, pushed expression, for these characters. It's so easy to draw.
It's like any artistry thing. If you have a ton of time to make it really good, it's really good. And if you have not a lot of time, it's maybe not so good.
It's also
We've all seen good stuff, and that's usually in the movie theater, and then you've seen some bad stuff, and that's at the dollar store. So,
And that's in any form of animation, really.
exactly, or any form of music, or anything like that. Like, I don't think any of us have anything against 3D. I personally prefer hand-drawn stuff, but that's me. That doesn't make it any better than anyone else's opinion.
I do have it. Oh, sorry, Sabrina.
No, I would say I like having both, and I'm finding, being in animation, 3D seems to be taking over a lot theatrically, and I just wish there was more of a balance. Like, why can't we have 2D and 3D? But
You
that's
find the
just me.
medium that best suits the storytelling. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Monsters University wouldn't necessarily have worked as a 2D feature.
At least not told in that way.
No, they were doing things in that movie that we couldn't have done, or, well, I didn't work on it, guys, sorry. That they wouldn't have been able to do in 2D easily. They would have killed whoever had to do them. So.
Yeah.
Then they wouldn't have got done. But I like 3D in a lot of ways, but it's all in how it's used. I would like to have a chance to do it, to work on it, but I would like to have a chance to develop a look first. Like, not just go with trying to make realism, because we live in the real world. Why? That's no fun. Let's try and recreate a fantasy world that like something like ponies, look and stuff, but still look the same, but just move more smoothly and more dimension, and give it more feeling of realness within that style, and not compromise the graphic nature of it. I'm really curious about how that could work, and I'd like to try making a graphic cartoon that's fully 3D, but you can't tell, like, it doesn't look 3D except for the way it moves.
I think it's definitely come a long way, like 3D in television series. Like, it took us a while to get Flash where it is with our TV series, right? You just, that's the way it goes. You figure out the tricks and what works to make the production run smoothly. And I've seen some great shows out there, I'm sure you guys have too, that are 3D, and they're still really cartoony and lively and snappy.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, well, just Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is the cloudiest 3D thing I've ever seen.
Awesome.
And I think it's only going to get better from there. So.
Yeah. As long as they go for that more cartoony style with the crazy expressions and sort of stay away from trying to recreate life as much and recreate the illusion of life, not reality. And so you can have fun with a more fantastical cartoony world, which is stuff that I like. So I'd like to see that.
So it doesn't fall to so it doesn't fall into the sort of rotoscoping problem
That's a bad word.
Yeah, exactly.
Uncanny Valley.
It's it's motion capture, but with a pencil.
Basically tracing over live shot footage.
It's an important step in learning how to do things, but it does end up looking a little weird sometimes.
It
in my
looks
opinion.
dead.
Yeah.
Weightless.
Well, because I think when you get an actor in there doing the movement, they know that they're acting for a cartoon, so that it's not how people normally move. You don't go, hello, really big and dramatic. You just go, hello. It's a smaller movement.
The classic Disney features used a lot of rotoscoping, but not in like I'm going to outline this human form. It was like, cartoony forms like Mowgli, they made him all skinny and stuff.
Well, and even stuff on Lord of the Rings, when they mocap the stuff for Gollum, they didn't just use exactly what Andy Serkis did. They went and enhanced it, which makes it look that much better.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the old Lord of the Rings animated movie from the 70s, almost the whole thing is traced over live performance.
Yeah, and they would just like tint live action plates to a solid color. That's a cartoon.
So, what would you say is the greatest limitation with working with Flash? Yeah.
There's lots of limitations, and we're always finding ways around them. But
The fact that Flash isn't made to use
Yeah,
for making
Flash-
cartoons.
Flash is made to make web banners. You know, someone just along the way came up with the clever idea, like, hey, you know, this web banner program can also animate characters if you use it the right way. And people have worked out, you know, systems for that, and then we've just taken it from there and enhanced it. But it's still a very limited program. It's just so simple, but which makes it easy to work with in a lot of ways. But then when you get to a point where, like, oh, there's a crowd of 50 ponies in this scene, and they're all clapping, or something like that, and it's just like, I get 4 characters in, and I can't move to the next key because it just dies. And so we have to find ways around that. We still need to do the scene. So how do we separate them all out in different shots? It just gets really, really complicated because we're just dealing with the limitations of what that program was initially built for.
That's a big one right there, is
Yeah.
the file size issue, and it would just start, lagging our computers. And
Thankfully, like Wootie and Jayson both are so industrious that they make Flash do things it's not supposed to.
Make it be multi.
Well, just Wootie, I think you've broken it 3 or 4 times. Like,
But then, like, you'll discover a glitch one day. Whoa, what happened there? And then once you sweat it out and figure out what happened, then you can exploit it and say, hey, if Pinky was doing this and then she did that, I could do that with 50 Pinkies, or I don't know.
That's really cool. So it's your limitations are not only inspiring in a technical sense. It doesn't just get you technically creative, but it gets you artistically creative as well.
You work with the glitches.
the roadblocks don't have to be roadblocks. They can be creative challenges. How do you get around them?
There was an interesting thing that made me think what you said. Like, there was a scene where there was a cloud of bees or something, and you came up with this way because we had to do like all these little buzzing dots, and it's like, well, that's hard to animate. How can we do this in a simpler way? And there's like a line. There's a way you can manipulate a line to be like a dotted line in Flash, stipple. And you can manipulate like how many and how random and how big the sizes are. So we go, oh, if you draw a line and every time you make a new key on that line, it randomizes the stipple again. So you do
That's
that
really
and
clever.
you draw a bunch of like lines and you make them move and you have them all stipple. Suddenly you've got like a cloud of bees.
Yeah, and in the old cartoons, they would turn into like a fist or a hand and slap somebody or something, right? So you can do that really easily, and it still looks like bees.
So that part where the bees turn into like a little question mark and then the
That's it.
exclamation. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, this guy figured that out.
Salutes, Wootie. I understand I'm kind of asking you guys to pat yourself on the back here, and that's not a comfortable position
we'll
to be
do
in.
it. We'll
Okay, well then let's power forward with this then. Do you guys feel like you're pushing the envelope with Flash? Do you think that you're going places that haven't been explored before and maybe pushing the entire industry forward?
I was a Flash doubter and I made it a point of trying to avoid working on Flash shows for a long time because I didn't think it would last. And I still kind of am, but I will say that Pony is the most impressive Flash animated show I've ever seen. Not just because I work on it, but I've seen what these guys do, more so now that I'm in the director position, like working with them and seeing how hard they work to make the show what it is, and not seeing the limitations as setbacks and just moving forward and doing crazier and crazier stuff in the show. It's really impressive.
It's weird because we still discover things that Flash is doing that we can exploit. Like, I learn something new almost every day. It used to be every day something new, but it's slowing down and we're kind of seeing the ceiling a bit more. But there's still these things like movie clip lighting, and there's always something to explore.
And I think there are other shows that are doing the same thing, and other people are discovering stuff too. And there's plenty of other shows that are coming up that, have learned a lot from the years that people have been using Flash since 2001 or whatever, when it started being used for cartoons. And but I think the industry is starting to see merit in other programs like Harmony and
Toon Boom.
Toon Boom's Harmony, and which has just gotten better and better and better as it's sort of almost mimicking what we can do in Flash, but taking all the limitations that Flash has and throwing them away and going, now you have no limitations.
That was a company that decided to listen to the animators and
Yeah.
redesign the program. Yeah.
Well, we had like
know stuff.
we had a lot of like things we wanted to talk to when it was Macromedia that was owning Flash, and we wanted to say to them like, hey, if you just open up the gates a little bit more for file size, we could not crash our programs so much. But they were more interested in working with web banners. That's where their main focus was, like web-based websites and things like that. And we were such a small market for them that there just wasn't worth their time to redesign the program for our benefit. So, but we were always seeing like, everything is good until here, just give us a little bit more and we could do so much more. And that's when Toon Boom was coming along, going like, well, we see what you need and maybe we can do something. But it's taken a while. Once you have a show built in Flash and designed and you have seasons of it,
Huge asset library by this
it's
point.
really hard to switch programs mid-race. We'd have to start right from scratch, right from like season 1 style. So it's just like for a production, it's not worth it to change horses, so to speak.
I see what you did there.
So for Pony, I think we'll probably always be staying in that program because we've got so much built up in it.
And we keep, there's a few of us that are noodling around with the code and doing some of those
Getting
things
under the
that
hood.
we wanted the program to be able to do. We're figuring it out now. So, and that's another reason that's keeping us going with Flash.
That's really cool. You're making it your own program in some ways.
Trying to, but maybe.
As much as you can, tame the beast.
So I'll get in trouble.
Nice.
And I'm setting up a site, by the way, and I'll be able to sell them to you guys if you're interested.
Yes?
So keep an eye out for Wootie.ca.
Wootie.ca?
Yeah, you can
Awesome.
try them out.
Flash plugins.
Flash plugin. Wow, custom Flash plugins built by Wootie. Wootie CA. Who wouldn't want to get their hands on that? That's awesome. Cool. Well, I think that everyone can agree the show's gotten bigger. Yes. And the
Still
storylines have
22
become...
minutes though.
Yeah, but still 20. That's what I was gonna ask for sure. Like,
Wait a second. That guy fell asleep. Are we boring? Are we too boring? No, not you. The guy in front of you. In front of you. In front of you. I'm just teasing.
You were?
I'm just teasing, man. It's all right.
you're so mean.
I know I'm a jerk.
It's okay.
We call him Big Jerk Jim at work.
Big jerk, Jim. Why are you so big jerky all the time?
Because it's fun.
Yeah. But the episodes are getting much bigger, much more epic. What are each of your... Sabrina, you've been very quiet. What are each of your
I don't know much
challenges?
about Flash, so I'm staying out of it.
What are the really big challenges in taking such huge scripts, such huge concepts, and condensing them into 22 minutes and keeping it good?
Time.
Biggest challenge?
We have 6 weeks to board. 22-minute between 2 people. And yeah, the shows have been getting a lot more epic as the seasons go on, which is great.
Oh, great for you guys.
Great.
It's a lot of work for us.
It's cool, but yeah, it's a time limit because for me, I like to split up my schedule 3 and 3. I'll do thumbnails for 3 weeks, and then I'll have my meeting with the directors where they say this is crap,
Change it all.
and then I have 3 weeks to go back and make those changes, and I do that while I clean up to save time. And it sucks because sometimes you want to spend more time on a certain scene, or you want to. And you can, but you also want to have a life as well, and working every weekend.
How dare you.
It gets hard. So you kind of have to give and take and say, I can give this much in this amount of time and do the best I can in the time I've given. And but it always gets better the further down it goes, regardless. Like once it goes to animation, they take what you've done and
soup it up.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing is because we've set the bar so high, we can't pull back now, just for our own.
Just to relax.
Just to relax. Like we can't go like, well, the season 2 finale was here. Season 3 finale can't be any less than that. Whatever you guys think about it is your own business. But I just mean, like, we can't pull back on the quality of the animation and stuff and go like, oh, we're tired. Let's just make it them talking in a room.
Which can be quite difficult too.
Or a white nether realm with some images that doesn't have a lot of detail.
Well, and also, the more epic a story is written, the more time it takes in the length of the show. So you're like, okay, well, here's all these cool scenes, and it has to build, and you need enough time for that music, the score to kind of swell, and you got to add all that in, and then you get to the end of the episode, and you're like, okay, how long is it? Oh, 30 minutes. Okay, well, we got to take 9 minutes out.
Yeah.
Killing babies left and right.
So many.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, what can we leave? Well, this maybe we don't need, and this part we don't need, and we could condense that part. Well, too bad. This was a cool idea. And
sadly, the first things to go are like the funny little side jokes. Because they're the easiest to take away without destroying the story.
Has the studio been collecting any of those outs?
I don't know. There's
Deleted
probably somewhere.
scenes real, anyone?
No, you don't get that. That's for us.
You actually might, yeah. There might be, it might not be as exciting as you think, because there's like,
some of them are like
there's a
just
scene
an
where
extra
she
line.
walks into the room and sits down. Well, we're just gonna cut to her sitting down. You really want to see that? Really?
You guys are desperate.
Remember who you're dealing with here.
2 more weeks for season 4. 2 more weeks.
There's
2 more weeks.
2 more weeks today, right?
2 weeks.
I feel like that lady in Total Recall is like 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
But yeah, like that gets to be the challenge. Like each episode is exactly 22 minutes, 16 seconds, and 13
seconds and 16 frames without commercial breaks and
there has to be exactly the same amount of time for every single episode. But one episode might not need that much time. Another episode might need way more time. But there's no leeway.
We can't
change
We
that.
can't ask the GAC people to make shorter commercials. Or no commercial.
Yeah, so
We can wish,
that becomes the challenge when we're doing like the fine cut and bringing it, right down to lock. We have to lock it at that frame. You're like, you see the show and you're like, wow, everything looks great, but I'm a second over. Okay, well, I gotta go back through.
In those
What do we
moments,
do?
a second is a ton of time.
Yeah. And like we start to joke about like, oh, just take 1 frame out of 24 scenes, and there you go. There's a second.
And we've done that.
Yeah. That can actually, you can't do that with just a blanket call, because sometimes you really need that frame. You take a frame away and you're like, oh, we can put
Feels
the frame
weird.
here. You're like, something wrong with that. Doesn't seem right. Put the frame back in. Oh, we need that frame. You'd be surprised how much a frame can do.
And it's always good. We'd keep in mind those gags that work better if there's a longer pause. You know those ones?
Yeah,
The
awkward
longer it
pause.
goes,
Longer, yeah.
funnier it is. So yeah, those are useful in those editing moments.
Yeah, oh, I need another 5 seconds. Well, let's just hold on this for a little longer. Oh, it's better. Oh, okay.
We hear people's concerns when they say they felt like stories are rushed, and those are concerns we have too. We don't want it to feel that way, but sometimes that's the time we have. We would love to make everything a 2-parter that deserves to be a 2-parter or a 3-parter or a movie or whatever. But what we have is 22 minutes, 13 seconds, 16 frames. So
Get that in your head.
yeah,
Memorize it. There will be a quiz afterwards.
That's including the titles and
Credits.
there's like there's like 5 seconds between each act of just commercial black time
Yeah.
for going in and out for the networks and stuff. And so all of that's also factored in. So the actual show time might be a little bit less than that. But that all has to be factored in with the opening title sequence, everything. That's the full package.
You guys are such a fun and lively bunch. I bet it's just crazy at the DHX studios.
Nope.
Nope. Anyway, even so, take us through a day in the life of somebody working at DHX.
Jim comes in grumbling.
Yeah. And Jason's there making his fancy coffee.
Really? What kind?
Well, I brought
The
in.
kind that the machine goes.
I was getting a bit into coffee making, and I was thinking about like, oh, every time I go and get a Starbucks, it's like $5. If I work out all that money into buying a espresso machine for myself, and
You can't just drink regular coffee. He's got to drink
gotta be
espresso.
Directors.
I've noticed as the stress level moves on at the end of the season, the liquor bar, slowly moves towards the cafe. Yeah. Things are slipping in.
you gotta get through your day somehow.
Well, it's not like we have regular days. Our time is really scheduled out. So one day we'll be doing a rough cut. The next day we'll be doing a storyboard thumb review, and then looking at scripts, and then another day we're going to a mix, and then another day we're going to look at layouts. Like, it's always different. Like, if I could show you my schedule on my phone, which I won't because you can't see it, you would see that it's just jam-packed. Like next week. Next week's crazy because of coming here. It's a short week in Canada.
Short week, yeah.
And so we missed Friday to be here. You're welcome. And
That's right. Give it up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you're happy. We had to work so hard for 4 days getting up
last
to
week was really busy.
It was
Next
crazy.
week will be super busy, so we're canceling season 4.
Yeah.
Oh, just going.
It's because of you guys. You wanted us
You
here.
wanted us here.
Well, there you go.
No, but every time there's like a holiday off or something like that, we're happy to have the day off, but then it's like, oh, that means
All
the
our-
rest of the
all our-
week is compressed.
All our department heads are like, oh, long
I'm gonna
weekend.
reschedule everything.
Okay, you guys get Monday off. Who's coming in Sunday so you can take Monday off?
Yeah.
I don't have any days off.
Our coordinators are like our godsend because they keep us all in check and on time for as much as they can, and
Well,
when we're not being distracted.
We've heard this phrase from both Jason and myself and Wootie's. Where am I supposed to be right now?
Yeah. There's so many times where I'm like writing notes in my computer or something, and then someone comes in like, you're supposed to be somewhere else. You're supposed to be at that thing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, stop that, go. And then and you get there and they're like, okay, you ready to go over this episode? I'm like, what episode was this? I don't remember. And then
We get homework. There's stuff we have to take home because it's just not enough time in the day. But the thing is, because everyone's job description is different, my day's different from Jason's even, and Sabrina's is very different from both of ours, and Wootie's is different because he's at a different studio.
That's a bit different.
But I mean, and the layout crew has a different day than, so it's really hard to give an average day. There's a couple BMs maybe.
You might, if you're lucky, you get
Drink
full
like 8
lunch
glasses
hour.
of water.
Yeah.
There's cool shit. There's stuff as well.
Okay,
Maybe why I had to change
I said
studios.
BM.
This is
Woottie
a
said the
grown-up
other one.
panel. It's okay.
But yeah, it really depends on which day. But it's in the studio itself. There are some days where it's just really, really quiet. Everyone's got their head down. They got their headphones on, and they're just working. And other days, something
Someone
might get
snaps.
exciting. Yeah. Someone might bring in a party cannon. We might make a bunch of noise and mess for the cleaning staff. I mean, we revel in those times because it's. Sometimes they're few and far between where we're just like trying to get the show done, hit the deadlines, get it locked, and everyone works super hard. Like I go home at the end of the day and I still see people head down with their
Still
headphones
there.
on, still working.
I've been there like 8 or 9 at night or later some
Yeah.
nights, and I go home and you're still here, man. Go
Yeah.
home. It's like, I gotta finish this scene for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But there's a desire for quality there, and
Yeah.
it's an infectious thing.
Yeah,
and if we're we're kind of the leaders of the show, and if they see us putting in all this passion and extra time, and then they get into it too, and they
we can't really expect them to work harder than we do.
Yeah.
So we have to try and lead by example in that regard. So I go home at like 3:30 every day.
Get in at 11.
Yeah, man.
Have a 2-hour lunch.
Every once in a while, you see someone drop down and do 20 push-ups.
I heard
too.
about this push-up club. What is that?
We've had it a couple of times. I saw someone recently doing it again.
Yeah, Brian was doing it.
Yeah, I think someone brought it. But so
I am
there's
not
like
a part of
there's
that
like a group of people who are all on like a text messaging circle, and each one will text 20 or something like that, and then wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you stop, you drop, you do 20 push-ups. And then
Wootie, didn't you do it in a movie theater one time? Like you got a text and
I saw Ishi's right on the street, walking down the street. He looked at his phone, then he put his phone back in his pocket, went down on the sidewalk, and did 20 push-ups right there.
That is dead.
I was like, yeah, wow. In this neighborhood, I don't know if you want to do that.
I think one of you guys needs to make a Twitter account, and then all the bronies need to join the push-up club. And as soon as that tweet is made, everybody drops and gives 20.
Yeah.
someone, Snowflake should be on.
Snowflake should head it up. Go.
That guy's in shape.
We have a lunch hour boot camp that Ishi and Vince run, and it's because sitting at your desk all day, you really start.
I also don't do that.
Yeah, I don't do that one, but people they want to get in shape and stuff, so they do like a rigorous hour-long workout, which I'm sure is
It
great.
involves standing out of your chair and then you're exhausted.
Yeah, a
coming
lot of
back
times.
to your desk stinky and sweaty. And
Yeah, well, we
Wootie's
have
done it a
showers
bunch.
there. We can shower, but
If there's time.
I haven't partaken in that one yet. I should, but I don't.
Everyone
but yeah,
I know
the
who
Twitter
does
account's
it
a good idea.
hates it
studio.
and regrets it.
Yeah.
I don't like
I don't
being
wanna do
naked
it.
at work. Well, to shower, people, after you're sweaty from doing boot camp, you have to get naked in the shower to clean off. I don't want to be naked
Unless
in
you're
the
a
building.
never nude.
Well, yeah, I could be a Tobias.
Arrested Development.
That was the reference, yes.
I just thought I'd point that out.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I wonder, there was another Arrested Development reference in Equestria Girls. With,
Really?
Yeah. Twilight throws a broom at Fluttershy.
And she turns away.
She turns away and it hits her in the back.
Like Buster.
No, it's George Michael.
Oh, was it George
Did that.
Michael?
Every time
Oh,
something was
right.
thrown to him, he would turn around and
Sorry.
hit him in the back.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess it was too subtle.
How many references do you put in the show?
Lots.
Well, when
You may- I don't know if everyone's
appropriate and
caught-
subtle
yeah.
enough.
I know
Not
some are more
everyone
famous
gets it.
than others.
And
but-
some are super subtle. There's a few that people will never get because they're funny to us and it's like an inside joke.
And it could be something really kind of background, like
Yeah.
we're spoofing, say, like a genre, or like, whenever there's a character walking through the woods, you do shots like this, and you remember, all those movies you've watched and referenced.
I do that a lot when I was in the board department. I'd be like, do it like this movie. Oh, this part should be like Friday the 13th. Oh, this should be No Country for Old Men. Oh, this should be.
Yeah, when that's
Seriously,
one step I
because
think we
it-
missed when we were talking about like the stages of how to make the cartoon. Once we have the script all done, when we hand it off to the storyboard artist, that's when we do a long discussion on our vision for it and their vision for it, and we come up with the ideas there, and it, we're looking for something like Disney here.
That's the thing that I think some budding artists and stuff think you should just watch cartoons or a certain kind of cartoon if that's what you want to do, but you should watch everything. Look at everything.
Yeah, don't
even a
limit
bad
yourself.
movie can give you good ideas, even if it's like how to not do something. Yeah.
So and even like old cinema too. Like sometimes it's like something from like the 1920s or some old movie that is forgotten, but was still a good movie. It can give you an idea for shots. Like there was the pink. What was that one where Pinkie Pie was on the train with the cake?
The mystery.
Mystery on the French
Mystery.
Express.
Some Express.
I had actually not really seen that movie,
Murder on the Orient Express
before, so I watched that because I knew it was kind of referencing it. And there were a couple of transitions that they did in that film that I was like, oh, we can actually
And
do
we're
that
all really
here.
big Peter Ustinov fans.
Nice.
So we were
You
kind
guys
of
are all
doing
way
it.
too young.
But there was a couple of neat transitions that I wanted to use in those scenes because just the way that the scene flipped around, because it was just kind of a little homage to that actual movie.
And of course, the Star Wars ending.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
that was
We all know
amazing.
about that.
Did
And
you
in the one that you talked about, there's a James Bond reference, of course,
Oh, yeah,
and there's like a grindhouse karate ninja movie
Yeah.
thing there, and like
Yeah.
with those were things that we came up with in the board meetings of like, let's do each of these 3 flashbacks in a slight, like the silent movie, of course,
Yeah.
the James Bond one, and then the Chopsaki movie, and that was something that wasn't really in the script that we said, well, how can we make this stand out from the
Yeah,
rest
it's
of the
all
show?
about translating the writing into visuals, and there are times where it's like this is all described or it's said, but maybe we can find a way to just visually represent it.
Yeah, it's the show me, don't tell me.
Yeah.
rule.
I mean,
George Lucas, are you paying attention?
Yeah, he's listening.
But there like again with cutting the shows down to 22 minutes, sometimes we realize like there's a lot of dialogue here. We're gonna have to work a way around it because it's
Right.
taking up a lot of time.
You don't have to have a character go, I'm going to go pick up this glass. I've done it.
Yeah.
Just pick up the glass. And you can be saying something else.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much time a dialogue can take up. So if it's not an important piece of information and we can find a visual to say the same thing, we'll do that. And then cut the line to help us fit other stuff in.
Or we'll like have fun in editorial where we take 3 lines that say just 2 things and hack them up to bits and slam them together and try and make a new sentence that's a lot shorter and quicker.
Yeah, it happens, and that's part of the process of like just massaging it at every stage all the way to the end, and even once we get to the mix, there's times where we're in the mix and we're watching the whole thing finish, and we're like, that sound effect, I think. What if we did something else here? We come up with an idea on the spot, and then they would do some new sound effect or change where the score is or something, and then all of a sudden, a scene that wasn't funny or wasn't a certain way before is totally different, just on the audio. Mm-hmm. And then like boom, you got a new joke or a new idea, and it's still all the way to the end. We're working this stuff out.
That's really cool to know that there is no point at which you're like, oh, it's finished. Until you have to.
Well, there is.
lock-
Yeah.
They take it away
Producers
from you after a
would
certain
love us to not make those last minute changes.
Well,
They're like, no, the gate's closed. You can't do any more. I want to change it again. But there is a point where we just have to like.
There are
okay,
things in
it's
past
done
episodes
as
that
much-
still bug us.
Yeah.
And we're like, I just ran out of time. Couldn't
Yeah.
fix it.
I wanted to do this, but it is what it is.
Well, we've only got a couple more minutes here, and I know that there are a lot of people in the audience here who are hoping to have the same career that you guys have. Can you briefly, quickly, give just a bit of encouragement or just a little tidbit of information on how to get started, or what would your suggestions be for people who want to be you?
Start. Seriously, just
Don't use that
do it.
excuse to stop.
Don't
Start
hesitate.
yesterday.
Just start doing it. If you want to do it, you start now because 2 minutes ago it was already too late.
And make mistakes.
Yeah, don't be
Yeah,
afraid.
let
You
yourself
may
make
not be great. I wasn't great when I started. I'm
Push
not
the
great
wrong
now.
button. Like when you're learning a new program and you push the wrong button, it does the wrong thing. That's great. Do that a lot.
Now you know.
And don't be afraid.
Knowing
Like
it's half
so
battle.
many times
Yeah.
people are slow because isn't this one?
What if I do this? I might wreck it.
There's
Wreck
an
it.
undo button, just
Yeah.
undo yourself.
Just undo. Save a version, wreck this one, then your next one will be faster and better.
Bravely go into mistakehood.
Yeah. And there's so many different areas. Animation and storyboarding and design and writing. And
Wait, did you say emanation?
emanation. Yeah, I know.
He is a director.
It's a Canadian term. But at every stage, even though you may focus on writing or storyboarding, it's good to know as many of the other stages as possible and study them all because they're all interlinked. They all affect each other. So, and watch films, analyze films, everything.
Watch them until you don't enjoy them. I'm serious.
Find out what's wrong with them.
Right, and get to the point.
You can't watch movies.
We can't watch movies objectively anymore.
Oh, it's so hard.
That didn't work.
Great film, you walk out and go, this was a problem. I would have done this
Figure out
differently.
why it was a problem. Don't just go, I don't
when
like
you're going
it.
through your
Why don't
growing
you like
phase
it?
and your learning phase, you definitely kind of get out of that enjoying movies as much because you're constantly analyzing what you're seeing, which is awesome. Because you'll come out of that once you get the film grammar kind of dialed into your brain. And
You guys all know who Chuck Jones is, I'm hoping? Have you all read Chuck Amuck by Chuck Jones? If you haven't read it, find that book. He has a little anecdote about a teacher he had in art school who told him every single person has over 10,000 bad drawings in them. And the sooner you get them out, the sooner you get to the good drawings.
Amen.
So if that's what you want to do, if you want to draw. Because you're only going to get better every single time you do a new drawing. You'll learn from like you said, the mistakes you made on the previous ones. You'll translate it into the new ones, everything you learn. We're still learning. We have...
Every day.
I totally screwed up season 4, guys. Oops. But if we get a season 5, I promise it'll be a lot
You gotta
better.
redo it in a couple weeks. Not a couple
Also,
days, really.
Don't be afraid of criticism and critique.
Yes, definitely.
And if it's
Thick
what you
skin.
really want to do, don't give up.
No.
No one's going to give you a break. You have to make it happen for you.
You have to really love it. You really do, because it's not a 9 to 5.
learn how to critique other people. And,
Positively.
Compliment sandwiches
Helpfully.
and all that.
Don't just say it sucks. Tell them, I feel. Use I feel statements, guys. Because we're all human beings and we all have
No
hearts.
should.
And if
Don't
anyone
work
shows
in
positivity,
absence.
yeah.
When you know how to give constructive criticism, you also receive it better when people are giving it to you.
And yeah, like having thick skin, but as long as it's coming from a good place, when we're showing each other work and you just say oh, that sucks, I'm not gonna go cry.
But we don't do that.
Okay, well let's work. But because we know each other so well, we can be harsher with each other, and it's good to have a group of people that you can be very open with and not have to be too careful, because just get to the point.
You're not doing the other person any favors by saying, it's great.
But it's good.
When it's not.
You need a safe environment to do that, where it's not personal about you; it's the work, and you got to make sure we separate the work from the person. It's not you suck; it's the drawing could use some work.
You can do better.
It's
I believe you
a
can do
fine
better.
line.
It's definitely a
Very
fine line.
fine line. But yeah, it's the whole thick skin. It's hard not to take it personally. Some days are better than others.
Yeah.
But it's always for the greater good. It's to make the show.
And don't be so precious about your work that if, this is something we learn in boards very early on, you have a gag or a sequence that you love, and it might get cut. And you can't be upset that it's gone because, like you said, it's for the greater good of the show.
It's always going to be gone.
It's always going to be gone. And invariably it'll be the one sequence you spent the most time on. But that's the way it happens.
I try to think about it as it's not my show, it's the show. It's just what's right for the show.
Our show.
Or
even.
our show, yeah. It's just this scene, I really love this scene, I really wanted to do it, but it didn't work out, or it's not helping the story, just let it go. It's not important. So I try to really think about not falling in love with an idea and just focus on what's important.
Which can be really hard sometimes.
Yeah, it can be really hard. And you have to step back and look at the big picture and be my idea is not as important as this overall thing. So if it's not working or it's not fitting, I guess I can let it go. And then maybe I'll repurpose it later for something else.
Well, guys, thank you for your collaborative mistakes, failures, and triumphs, because we all really appreciate it very much. Jayson Thiessen, James Wootie, Wootton, Sabrina Alberghetti, and Jim Miller. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
You did a great job.
And me.
Mando Pony.
But I didn't make the show. I didn't do anything. Thank you guys so much.